Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Story Behind the Stories with the Neepawa Banner Press. This is for the January 24th, 2005 edition. Already pretty much through the first month of the new year. I'm your host this week, Casper Wehrhahn, an archivist, photographer, and journalist with the Neepawa Banner Press. And I'm here this week with our special guest, Ken Waddell, editor-publisher. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Good to be here.
All right, so we've got a lot to get through for this week's paper, and I will say we're going to start out with some good development stories here, some feel-good stuff. Then we'll get a little bit serious here. It's a little bit of a damper on the spirits, but discussion that is, I think, very well needed. And then we'll round things out going into the weekend with some more good developments for the area. Starting, of course, as always, with one of our feel-good stories. This is on the front page of this week's paper. That is a development in Carberry. And it sounds like it's a much-awaited development. This is to do with a new childcare space and new daycare for the community. It's been talked about for a number of years in local government. And in the past 6 months, they've been doing a lot of sort of the precursor stuff, the planning, working out different logistics and all that. And they were finally able to make that announcement on January 8th that they're ready to begin the next steps, taking action on what they have planned out so far. And hopefully very soon getting shovels in the ground. Ken, do you have anything you'd like to weigh in on this?
Well, I think it's great news for Carberry. I know in Neepawa there's 2 or 3 daycares. Did they indicate they've had a daycare before, I presume, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, and this is going to be an expansion. Love the setting that they went to. They had a snow turning. They didn't try and turn the sod. Sod's a little hard right now. But anyway, they had a snow turning, and it looked like a happy group there with announcing the plans for this. And we'll certainly be following it with in the paper and reporting to you on Story Behind the Story as well. So it looked like a happy bunch, and rightly so, because every time there's a development in a smaller town, it's something to be cheered on and to be celebrated. So good on them.
Absolutely, and I mean, just in general terms as well, developments such as these, I think, are really a sign of growth for communities, because it shows that, yeah, there's a need for this type of development. So the town perhaps is getting bigger as well, more people coming there, or having families and all that sort of thing. So that's good all the way around, and I'm wishing them the best of luck on this. I mean, this is a great development for the community. A great development for our community, right in Neepawa, is just on page 2. And people probably have been seeing things going on for a while here with this one. This is to do with the Best Western Plus Hotel in Neepawa. I will say it's been quite a while since I went down to that area myself where it's being developed. So it's been quite some time between the last time I saw it and the photo in the paper this week. What a change. What a difference. It looks great on the outside, and we had a bit of an insider look, some inside photos on that, how things are going on the interior. And things are coming along really well there too. There's still, of course, a lot of work to do ahead of the opening date, which we did get a prospective opening date this week. They're hoping to be open for Wednesday, May 7th. So that's coming up pretty quickly, I imagine, with how this year is going already. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, I'd heard that Murray Parrott, who's one of the proponents of this and has been spokesman for the project for a while, he said he's heard this May 7th date twice now, so he thinks it's maybe going to stick. And that's not being critical, because a project like this, it just runs into supply problems and weather problems and everything else. See from the picture, I mean, well, you can drive by and see it for yourself, but the inside you won't see by driving by. There's a a partly finished pool area there, which I think people are going to be pretty excited about that. I know that I'm sure that a lot of people will be excited about having the extra hotel space here in town for meetings and for sports tournaments. I know that people that go to other centers with their kids, hockey, for example, or baseball or basketball, whatever, they like to have a hotel with a pool because there's a lot of hours sometimes between the games, and they have younger family members with them, and so it's a way of having a bit of a family vacation in and around the sports tournament. That's just one example. I noticed that the manager is Trish Hall, and if it's the Trish Hall that I know of, she was raised here at Neepawa. I knew her parents. I know her parents. Actually, I knew her grandparents. That's what you get when you've been around for this many years. But anyway, capable person, and really happy to hear about that. And so it's good news. It took a long time to get going. Certainly, there were some things happened. I hate blaming COVID for things, but that was one thing that slowed it up a bit. But getting the plans together, and it doesn't matter what project it is. You get a project, you get a plan, and then we need this much money, and then you get into realizing, well, no, we need this much more money plus a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And so I hope it goes very, very well for them. I know in one of the earlier meetings we were at, they talked about having the laundry right behind the front desk. And when they first hit on that idea, they thought, well, that's crazy. But no, it isn't, because you have night staff, and they're not very busy.
Right.
So they can do the laundry, fold the towels. Gives them something to do rather than stand there and wait for not too many people come through the door during the night. Mm-hmm. Not too many calls from the rooms, hopefully, during the night. So they're got work to do through the night, saves a staff position. And that kind of thing can make the difference between profit and loss. If they're talking about 12 to 14 staff, and that's a welcome new jobs in the area as well. Absolutely,
yeah. And I know that with Best Western Plus in particular, it's a very well-recognized brand, I guess you could say. So a lot of people know it, a lot of people are familiar with it and their standards and all that sort of thing. So it'll be something familiar that when people are, planning trips wherever they're going to go, if they're visiting Neepawa specifically, or maybe they're stopping over for a period of time to go somewhere else. They'll see that and they'll recognize it and they'll be like, okay, I'm going to go there, and maybe they'll check out everything else around town too. That would sure be nice if they do. There's a lot of stuff in Neepawa for people to enjoy.
You betcha.
All right. As I said at the start of the show, we did have some more serious topics to get into here. And if you're familiar with the show, you know that we don't typically touch upon letters to the editor, that sort of thing. But this letter this week is a particular kind of letter, and it actually comes from the mayor of Portage la Prairie, Sherilyn Knox. And while it talks about an incident specific to Portage, it talks about some things that are relevant to the wider area, Canada as a whole. And that incident and the things that Sherilyn Knox touches upon in general align very well with Ken's column this week on page 4. So we do want to get into a bit of that. Now, Ken, of course, you did a column that touched on a lot of this. Do you want to kick us off here?
Well, just a little background. Sherilyn Knox was raised in Gladstone and Shoal Lake, and my wife and I know her very well. And a blatant plug here for a politician. We think she's a very capable mayor for the city of Portage la Prairie. We've known her since she was quite young, visited in their home a few times over the years, and have maintained some contact with Sherilyn. She moved to Portage and got involved with council work there. She's known throughout this area as well as coordinator for the Cancer Care Manitoba, the transportation efforts that they put out. and
Right.
Neepawa is in her purview. She's spoken here, places like the Rotary Club and things like that. But she was struck really hard by the death of a young person in Portage who was killed in an accident because the individual who was driving the vehicle that killed this young woman was known to police, had an active arrest warrant, and that she said should have been in custody instead of behind the wheel. Sherilyn outlines 3 things in the article. She says, number 1, repeat offenders are allowed to roam free, and she's right on that largely. There's a failure to prioritize public safety, and she says it's a broken system lacking the courage for reform. And I think that those sound like a really harsh criticism of the system, but I think every word of it is true. In my column, I talked about some of these same things, and the thing that drives me nuts about people being out on bail or out on just whatever, different kinds of conditions. And about 3 weeks ago, I guess it was, there was a picture of a very menacing looking man in the paper, in the Winnipeg papers, and with the warning that this person was going to be living in the area. They were a danger to women and children. Very, very recognizable because of the tattoo pattern on the person's face. It would be hard to miss if you'd seen the picture. And fortunately, and I say fortunately, 4 days after his release from prison, he reoffended and was put back in prison. But he'll be back out again. And some would say, well, poor man. Well, this man has been out of prison since 1990. 1990. That's 34 frickin' years.
Yeah.
The hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars that we spent on rounding him up and taking him to court and proving the case, and the police have to prove everything, beyond the shadow of a doubt. He should have been in jail for the last 20 years because they've never been able to get him past the point of likely to re-offend.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that they put warnings in the paper. And it's not the only one. I mean, there's been many of these. That should not be happening. And they say, well, you'll fill up the jails. Well, you better fill up the jails than the morgue. I'd rather have the jails fuller than the morgue.
Right.
And I don't know if this is going to get through or not. This is going to sound very political. It is very political. We're under likely a change of government in Canada, and certainly the prospective Prime Minister, Pierre Poilievre, is not everybody's favorite person by any means, but they are promoting a quite stronger approach to this kind of offense. They're doing some things that people won't agree with, I know too, but and then if you want to contrast it with how tough law enforcement appears to be becoming in the United States under Donald Trump, again, oh my God, don't get me started, but people are ready for some real action on things where the economy and public safety are involved. There is no reason on earth that people who are constant reoffenders with no remorse, no change in attitude, for whatever reason maybe not able to change, are put out there so that the community can kind of absorb the blow. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the blow is death.
Yeah.
Drives me crazy. That's enough ranting for now, but I can't express how strongly I feel on this particular topic. I don't want you or my family or my friends or anybody to be subjected to this absolute horrendous nonsense. Mm-hmm. It just shouldn't be happening. And I'm not a person I don't believe in capital punishment. And that's in my column too. The main reason I don't believe in, well, there's 2 reasons. I don't think I could kill the person if I was to be the hangman or the executioner or whatever you want to call it. I don't know how anybody does that job. But anyway, there are too many cases, and several of them in Manitoba. Several in Manitoba, and certainly many in Canada, where people were either put to death or put in prison for life for a murder that they did not commit. At least when they were in jail, they could be released and compensated.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to release and compensate a person if they're in their grave.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? So that's my stand on capital punishment. Somebody, hang them high. Well, it's not really much of a deterrent either, because when there was hangings, there was lots of murders, and today there's lots of murders, and it's hard to tell the difference. Yeah. Put him in jail. Put him in jail. I have a friend who, it's a family member, who says, if they want to take a course, if they want to get a university degree, if they want to become a writer, if they want to become a playwright, if they want to, they can study and write on quantum physics for all I care. And maybe they be their work might well be of value to society.
Yeah.
Fine, but not in the public domain.
Right. Yeah, this is a discussion that I think has happened on many occasions, over many, many years. Maybe more so, or I guess I should say a lot more recently, because I think there's just more that's aggravating the issue, or there's just more awareness of the problem now. But yeah, it's been a long-term systemic issue that hasn't really seen any change despite repeated just bad things happening that aren't really getting looked at and addressed properly. And yeah, it's a big question, I think, in this entire issue of, do we actually have reform in our prisons and jails? Is it sufficient, if there is any? And if not, why don't we do something about it? Yeah. When do we do something about it? Because we need to have something changing yesterday.
Yeah.
Decades ago.
Well put. Well said.
Right. We still have some time. And as I said, we do have some lighter stories to round things off on. But before we move on, I do hope that you give some time to read the letter, read Ken's column. Maybe you have some thoughts of your own. You can always send in a letter to the editor. I'm sure that would be welcome. But we do have some more lighter stories to round things off before we have to get going here. And we are going to actually take a run down the road here to Gladstone. And I'm sure this is a very welcome development for Gladstone as well. I know I was very happy to see this come about, even though I don't live in Gladstone. I have memories of facilities like this in Neepawa, very fond ones, so I was very happy to hear of this for their community. But this is the opening of a brand new bakery in the town of Gladstone. It's called Follow the Crumbs. And if you're in Gladstone, you probably are familiar with the building that is located in. It's actually the former Gladstone Bakery and Eatery. So it's a historic kind of a building to the community, and it's being repurposed for another bakery with a new owner, Judy Parker. I had the opportunity to talk to her amidst her very busy schedule, might I add, preparing for the soft opening that happened on January 14th, so just last week there. And just getting a bit of her background, how she got into wanting to pursue a bakery business, and her excitement moving forward.
Well, I was pleased as punch to see that, and the picture of all those loaves of bread on the shelf there to make you want to drive right down to Gladstone and buy a couple of loaves. I've known this business and this building since 1971. And back in the early 70s, there was a gentleman and his wife, a remarkable couple, who had the building. They were from the Netherlands, actually. And They would get up very, very early, like bakers do, and get all their work done. And then he would, if I remember correctly, he'd drive down the road 2 or 3 miles in Gladstone to go shoot around a golf, and then have some supper, and then go to bed. So he could get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to start all over again. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's still how they do things in the bakery business, but that's been a tradition. Very, very happy to see this. Unfortunately, the previous owner didn't make it and had to close. And the building did need lots of work. The roof was leaking, and hopefully they've been able to get that all set up. There actually is in that building, on the upper floor, a huge live-in suite. A large one, several bedrooms, and a lot of windows to the south. So it's a beautiful, sunny, even on a day like today, pretty warm place to, if she has time to ever sit down and sit in the window. It's a great place to be. So, and you don't have to go far to work. Just fall down the stairs and you're there. So
yeah, yeah, and just speaking with her there, she had actually originally wanted to pick up the old bakery that used to be here in Neepawa, but time just wasn't right and all that sort of stuff. But she was able to set up here, and having the older stuff, the older equipment at this bakery in Gladstone here, that was actually a bit of a draw for her as well. She was like, if I'm going to have an old style bakery, if I can have the old style equipment, that's just perfect. So that was pretty cool to hear that little perspective on that. But yeah, it's just something else. Having a small, like locally owned bakery, it just has that unique quality to it. And it's something very special. Of course, this doesn't have to do with the Gladstone Bakery here, but I do have very fond memories, as I said before, at the Neepawa Bakery here. And I don't know why I remember this specifically, but I'm pretty sure the bakery here in Neepawa used to have these cookies that were like Bigfoot cookies. It was like the shape of a giant foot. Just one of those silly little things that for some reason I remember it, but ask me someone's birthday and I probably don't. I don't know why that is, but there you go. So congratulations to Judy Parker, and wishing you all the best.
We talk about remembering things.
Oh, yep.
Last night my wife and I were watching a show, and actually it was in Anna Green Gables, and I visited the Anna Green Gables house when I was there. And I was only 16. And then I said, I visited with the name of the family, and I named the name, and she says, yeah, I remember the name. And I remember where the guy worked. I told her where the guy worked. And it says, it's on the north side of the main street of Charlottetown. We're talking 60 years ago. And I mean, I probably hadn't thought of those things for 55 years.
Yeah.
But memories are a funny thing. They pop into your head.
Yeah, it's just strange how that works. Getting in our last story here before we have to close things out. Over on page 9, we have a returning event to Minnedosa. This is one that I'm sure many are familiar with, but in case you aren't, this Minnedosa-based charity is Curling for a Cure. It's basically a fundraising bond spiel. People from Minnedosa, surrounding area, outside of the surrounding area, they're all welcome to participate in it and support it. Whether you're a curler yourself and want to sign up your team, or you just want to go down there and support them in other ways, just by watching or taking part in the other activities that's going on there. And it raises funds for cancer care resources in the area. And so this is a bit of a preview for that event, because the 2025 edition of this event is coming up very soon. This is going to be happening on the weekend of February 14th to the 16th at the Minnedosa Curling Club. A total of 24 teams. That's a lot of teams. And some very good early news on this event. This year is the 5th year in a row that it has been a total sellout for the team registrations. 5th year in a row. That's insane. And it's 24 teams. So that's a lot of good support already. And to date, well, as of December 13th, that's when I initially got this segment of information. Over the course of this event's first 5 years, it has raised $94,551 for cancer resources in the area. The first 5 years. This year, it's going to smash $100,000 in support of its cause. That is astonishing in the best, most positive way. And it has a waiting list. This part isn't in the story. It has a waiting list for 2026. It is that well supported. And this could not happen without everybody in the organizing committee putting in the hard work to put this together, and without everybody out there supporting it in every way that it does. So kudos to everyone on this. I really want to make sure that you give yourself a pat on the back, because this is a very special cause to be supporting. And this year actually marks the first year of 10 to a commitment to the Neepawa cancer care facilities. And it's always split 50-50 between one cancer care resource and another one. So 100% of funds are going to cancer care research. So definitely a good event to support. If you can, get out there, support it with watching it, etc. Ken, is there anything else you would like to add?
No, it's a tremendous event and tremendous support from the community. And just like you say, kudos for all the work they do. It's a lot of work. I'm sure they have a lot of fun too. There's a lot of fellowship in these kind of things, and that's really great. But we'll be looking forward to those February 14th and 15th date. But the actual curling is going to be held in Minnedosa, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. No, we need to be thankful for the efforts of these types of people. Tremendous. The community wouldn't be the same without them, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, these funds go a long way to all the initiatives that they have supported over the years and the years to come. So very much thankful that this is in the area. I think we have a couple minutes here before we fully close out, if I'm correct here. So is there anything that we'd like to shout out in the paper real quick? I mean, I know we've got a lot of events that have happened. Of course, we have, as always, the looking back section. Oh yes, there was a Carberry artist that did a debut in Dauphin. That's on page 8. Definitely take a look at that. I'm actually familiar with the artist. I've done a story with him previously, I believe, and I've seen him at a couple different Neepawa events. So very happy to see him again going out and doing his thing. Of course, there's always the sports section as well. Lots of good sportsing news in this week. Anything you would like to highlight, Ken?
Well, the Tigers are doing well. The Farmers are going to be in the playoffs. And the Neepawa Titans, it looks like they're going to be in the playoffs this year. They've beaten the three top teams. And in their last few games, they've beaten the three top teams in the league. So that bodes well for a good run. And so they play again tonight. We're on the Friday night when we're actually taping this show. But so those results will be in next week's paper. So anyway, and I did have a fellow phone today to the newspaper, but he also gave a shout out to our show here. He watches us all the time. Casper, a man from Winnipeg. I think they have roots in the area, and so it was great to hear that call. Anytime you want to let us know that you like us, we like to hear that.
Absolutely. All right, got to close things up now, so thank you very much for joining on this week's episode. If you want to reach out to us, you can do so at 204-476-3401, or send us some news tips at news@neepawabanner.com, advertising, ads at neepawabanner.com. Thank you very much, and have a great week.